the transactions, Bitcoin transactions. So if I give you, what's your name? Safina. If I give you money, in fact, I actually need all of your help. If I can get all of you to stand up, I want to make a quick demonstration. So, Safina, I want to give you money, okay? So I've got £10 here, okay? This is what would normally happen if I am transferring money to Serafina on or through a bank. So what I would like you to do, Serafina, is to stand here. And then what's your name? Joseph. If I can have you standing here as well. Right? So you're going to behave as Serafina's bank. And then what's your name? Mia. Mia. If I can have you standing here. And this is what's going to happen. We are going to demonstrate how money is transferred using our existing banking system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, Mia, £10. I know, by the way, it is true. This is £10. Okay, don't worry, it is a £10 note. It's not fake, it's not paper money. So, if I can have you, Mia, passing it over to Joseph. So this is what would happen. So I would give, if I want to get money to Serafina, I would have to interact with my bank, who gives it to Serafina's bank, and then if Joseph can give it to Serafina, that is how it works. So then the bank gives Serafina her money, right? But what happens in Bitcoin, if I can have both Mia and Joseph sitting down, could you please give them a round of applause as they make their way to their seats or to sit down? Thank you so much. This is what would normally happen. So the reason why is that Bitcoin has increased in popularity and why people like it is because if this represents Bitcoin, what happens is all I need to do is if I want to give it to Serafina, I do this. And that's how it works. Does that make sense? Right. Thank you. By the way, can we please give Serafina a round of applause? Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So the reason why I highlight that is because blockchain, the reason why it's so powerful is because of the multiple uses, what it can be used for and where it can be applied to. So I'm so glad that Mamta mentioned about money because the reason why is that I enjoy learning more and more about blockchain is because of the use cases around money and how it can be used to track financial transactions. But one of the ways that I've been looking at blockchain is not just explaining it to people of your age and people who are in this room, but it's looking at where it can be applied to in, let's say, the context of coffee supply management. How many of you here shop or eat or drink at Starbucks? Raise your hand. Lovely. At least one. So are you a coffee drinker, sir? You are. Oh, good on you. The reason why I mentioned Starbucks is because Starbucks are looking at blockchain technologies as we speak. And even if they weren't, the reason why I mentioned Starbucks is because of coffee supply management. So I'm not sure whether you've ever come across how your coffee is made. But what happens is it starts in what usually is a tropical country where the coffee farmers grow the coffee beans from the ground. And what then happens is after they collect their coffee beans, they give it to coffee roasters. And then from coffee roasters, it is then sent to be refined. And so there have been efforts to look at how blockchain can be a way of transparently showing where the coffee is coming from so that everyone involved in that supply chain is adequately reimbursed for their contribution to it, i.e. fair trade coffee. So that excites me because it's like, wow, I know where my coffee is coming from. Where else can this be applied to? Where is your food coming from? Where is tea coming from? And so on and so forth. And I really enjoy blockchain specifically because of the fact that it is secure, first and foremost. You have to use a special code to access the block. and it's also immutable. That means you cannot delete anything from it. But also, is for me, what I really enjoy about it is how it requires people who are in a network, so you have to work together. For those of you who haven't come across the concept of it before, it's really a way to securely store information. So, if, say for example, me and Livingston, this is what would happen on a normal blockchain. So myself, I send you some Bitcoin. It is then stored on a blockchain. I then interact with you. It is stored on a blockchain. I then interact with you, Charlie, and it's stored. So what happens is, with each transaction, it is stored methodically on a chain. So each transaction forms a block, and then that block is added to a chain, and so it builds over time, hence the word blockchain. Right? So that is it in a nutshell. And in terms of the work that I'm doing now, besides blockchain education, I also want to see where else it can be applied to, and why it is that someone like any of yourselves would be interested in learning about the technology itself. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them after, but that is my presentation on blockchain. And I don't know whether or not people are familiar with my background and how I came into it. I should probably explain. What happened is, I have ants in my pants and I don't keep still. So I actually was introduced to it through a hackathon, which was sponsored by Barclays, where we had to use that technology to be able to identify 230 million children. Can you get your head around that number? 230 million of you who were unaccounted for by authorities in Africa and in India. So our job was to be like, okay, how do we find these kids? And how do we make them known to authorities? So the idea that we came up with in the group was that we would take a picture of the child's face and take their fingerprint every year of their life, from the day that they were born to the day that they turned 18, and then they would own that digital identity. So every year, you take a picture, get the fingerprint, store it. Take a picture when they're 1, fingerprint, store it, and so on and so forth. So fortunately, we won! Woo! So we actually won Bitcoin, which is how I got into it. And then from there were use cases developed on the back of that. So now, from my understanding, there is a blockchain identity database in India. So for me, I'm humbled, because I wasn't expecting it to reach that far. However, having said that, seeing what has now come out of it, we now see that the power of blockchain is in our hands, because now we have to interact with it because we're using less cash. When was the last time you used cash? Can anybody remember? Have you ever been to a shop nowadays where they don't accept cash at all? Can I have a show of hands? You? Do you mind if I quickly ask you about your experience?
I didn't like it because I personally didn't like it because it get rid of your social skills, like counting out money. Maybe I'm from the old school.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, but you didn't have to.
And I ate cash machines as well. And
Sure.
I ate going to the supermarket and paying, but on scanning your own things as well,
Understood. Is because of the lack of interaction with the cashier
and no more social skills.
Oh, well, I
That's
hope.
my personal opinion. Yeah.
I no, understood. Completely respect it. My hope actually is that we don't
Cash.
actually reduce we don't compromise our social skills in order to facilitate those transactions. It's just supposed to be there for speed and ease of use. So as a result of that, there is something called the MIT Technology Review. Has anyone heard of MIT?
No.
Yes. So MIT is a prestigious university in the United States, and they have what is known as the MIT Technology Review, which is a technology publication dedicated to new and engaging developments in the technology world. They featured me as a blockchain believer, and here I am today. Thank you very much, Nick, for the opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you, Christiana.
And thank you, everyone, for your attention and for listening. Thank you.
Christiana, thank you. And I would say that we're actually live on Twitter here from White City Place,
Yes.
the centre that the BBC started broadcasting TV on years and years ago after probably moving from Ali Pali. And you, a young woman, a young engineer in EngTech, the art of EngTech, we're calling this, because I'm a fellow of the Institute of, a member of the Institute of Engineers and Technologists, as Mamta was, and we need to get you signed up for that,
Thank you.
because I think you're an incredible role model for young women, young people, across all parts of society.
Thank you.
And I just think that's incredible. So a big round of applause again for this, just incredible work. Here we are in White City Place. We've had a fantastic afternoon, the Creative Work and Live session. I'm going to stop Twitter now. We're going to get on to our next speaker. We'll come back live later on, so watch this space.